Okay, as I promised you, I would take an hour to cool down after the verdict in the Zachariah Anderson trial. And yes, I am disappointed in the verdict. I am not surprised in the verdict, sadly. Now, you as my audience, you have probably followed law tubers for quite some time. You have developed a way of critical thinking. You have developed the baseline of innocent until proven otherwise, beyond a reasonable doubt. But we all have to understand that most people have for years, by mass media, by channels on the YouTube that enforce that the thought of if a person is charged, they are probably guilty. So they are having that starting point. And even shows like cop shows, reality cop shows, they always start with the person is considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, and then they show you someone who is clearly breaking the law. And this has been going on for not only years, but decades. Yeah, it's in a ponytail. And this is what I believe influenced this jury. That the baseline has changed the last couple of decades. From he is innocent until proven otherwise to that be the same words means he's probably innocent until proven guilty. Somewhere in there, this baseline, it's still there. And we, as in the segment normally called LawTube, individuals with knowledge of law, with a law degree, or lawyers, educating, re-educating people what innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt, what that actually means. And in the Zachariah Anderson trial, for me, the prosecution was nowhere near convincing for me that the evidence pointed beyond a reasonable doubt towards Mr. Anderson. And looking at the witnesses, there is one thing I believe was standing out among the witnesses, and that was not the shady friends, it was not Sadie, it was not the prison snitch, it was the daughter, her testimony. That, I believe, was the one thing that convinced the jury. And some of you have seen it, most of you probably haven't, and it is the environment the daughter has been in the last few years. This is Sadie Beecham's car outside of the courtroom. this is what the daughter has been raised in since she was 12. Sadie Beecham knew Mr. Gutierrez for less than 3 months. And this is her glorified opinion about Mr. Gutierrez. She honestly believed, in my opinion, that they had a relationship. And nothing can probably sway her from thinking otherwise. Not the fact that Mr. Gutierrez was trying to hook up with at least 2 other women during the time Sadie Beecham thought she and Mr. Gutierrez had a relationship. This is the environment of the daughter. Again, I don't believe for a second that things happened the way the prosecution claimed. That Mr. Anderson was in some form of ambush around 9:37 at night. Because if you remember the Murdoch trial, they claimed that the phone being evidence of both the wife and the son being dead. But you have to understand that Mr. Gutierrez didn't answer from 9:08 to 9:37. There's a hole in the prosecution's argument. They claim Mr. Gutierrez was killed between 9:37 and 10. But that does not reflect the evidence. Because if you believe that the phone being unanswered at 9:37, that also must mean that he might have been killed before 9:37, between 9:08 and 9:37. And if that is a possibility, a probability, then there is no way Mr. Anderson could have gone from his house to Mr. Gutierrez's house. The way the prosecution put up the closing argument, it is only possible that Mr. Gutierrez was killed between 9:37 and 10. That's the only way it fits. And the only way it fits is for the jury to disregard Mr. Anderson's back problem, to disregard the absolute lack of evidence. And now I don't mean testimonial evidence, I mean physical evidence. There are no drag marks in the apartment. There are no driplets moving from the apartment and outside. Nothing. This means that Mr. Anderson not only managed to roll Mr. Gutierrez into this supposed drug, he also had to cover every part of that rug from driplets with rope and duct tape, lifting him up, and somehow managed to lift Mr. Gutierrez between 250 and a 270-pound man in a way that didn't shape a banana form, Because if you lifted him in this over the shoulder, you have two exits. He has to have lifted him in a way that put the ends up to avoid triplets moving from the apartment and out. Besides that, he also had according to the prosecution, he had Mr. Gutierrez, body plus drug, in the van, driving home like a maniac, having him there a number of hours, driving to Walmart, still with Junior in the van, scumper, and the only thing was from a rug covered with duct tape that was smudged anywhere was this needle pin smudge. I don't find that credible. I'm not even talking about probable or possible. I don't even find that credible. There is no evidence of that. None. But I have a law degree. Most people don't. Or I almost am confident in saying, if you have a law degree in some shape or form, you are probably not in a jury. And that in this case, that might have been a reason for the jury to come up with this verdict. And as I said, I am disappointed because in my opinion, the prosecution needs to sway me from Mr. Anderson is innocent until proven guilty. And you can see it from my video yesterday when I picked apart their closing argument. Every maybe is also a maybe not. And the prosecution had a vast amount of maybes. They more or less asked the jury to fill in the holes for them. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's the prosecution's sole responsibility to fill in all holes, to remove all reasonable possibilities of the disappearance of Mr. Gutierrez being anything other than on the hands of Mr. Anderson. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. As I already said to you, mass media, different TV channels, newspapers have pushed the narrative of if a person is prosecuted, they are probably guilty, which in my opinion has shifted the innocent until proven guilty in a court of law to probably guilty, but the defense needs to prove me otherwise. I don't know what else to say. I'm disappointed, but not surprised. I hope the next trial I cover from the United States shows me that there is some hope left. The United States judicial system, its foundation is great. But I'm afraid that that foundation has lost its way. I hope that LawTube on YouTube and Locals and Rumble can get bigger and bigger so we can compete with the narrative of mass media. That's my initial thoughts. On Saturday, I will try to have a live stream where I update you on what is going on in my on the other things I'm covering. Until then, you all have a nice day, and I'll talk to you later.